Okay,
Perfect.
cool. Well, just to kick things off, I'd love if you could
Mhm.
introduce yourself to the audience and just give a little context into you, what you do, and how you got
Sure.
here.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Julia Hetzel. I have been painting my whole life. It really started in childhood. I just grew up painting with my grandmother. I come from a family of artists, all the way back to great great grandparents and maybe even beyond. And I went to college and I got an art degree. And after college, I ended up in the interior design industry. And so during that time, which was about 10 years, I actually never painted, not really, not once.
Oh.
So I separated from it. I don't know if I maybe needed a break or if it just life just was too busy. And I recently came back to it and within the last year, and it has been the most joyful thing returning to it. And I would really say, so I started posting on Instagram and selling my artwork that way almost 2 years ago, maybe just a year ago. But really, it was April of this year, and I remember April 24th, where I really was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And so that's when I started chasing it, and that's kind of what got me here today.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting that you do have an artist background because I think a lot of people that come
Hmm.
on this show talk about, either they didn't go to art school or they did go to art school, but they didn't come from a full family of artists. How did that
Right.
influence your perspective on making a living as an artist?
Yeah. So I think it has made a huge impact. And it's funny because you just live your life and you don't really know how you're being
Mhm.
impacted. But I would say more than anything, and you can see it all throughout. I'm always posting on Instagram about my grandma. It was my grandmother.
Mhm.
She went to art school. Now she would never call herself a professional artist, but she is so talented. I mean, I cannot underline that exclamation point that enough. She is so talented. And so I grew up obviously hearing about I guess my great grandfather. Um, and he was a Russian artist or Ukrainian artist. And, published in, magazines and in galleries, etc. And I think when you grow up hearing about it, it just becomes a part of who you are, and it's the exposure that you have so constantly and consistently that you just fall into it. And so that's really how it happened with my grandmother. So just being who she is at the age of 3, I didn't know that I had a great grandfather who was an artist, but she was teaching me. She's always loved that book, Painting from the Left Side of Your Brain.
Mhm.
She's loved it. And or is it drawing from the right side of your brain. Is it the right side? Anyway, I think it's drawing from the right side of your brain, but I may be
Yes.
wrong.
I
So
know
do
the
me
book
and
you're
do more.
talking about, and I'm like, now you have me
Yes.
confused. But yes,
And in
I'll link
it,
it in the show
which
notes.
is yeah, so in it, I should look and then we can retake. But in it, um, in the book, it has these really fun exercises that she has done with me. She did with me from growing up, where she'd say, "Why don't you draw this upside down? Why don't you draw my face, not looking at the paper? Do a continuous line drawing."
Right.
All of these little things that were little exercises that got me invested in drawing, and which, of course, drawing, of course, being the fundamental for painting. And so I just did it all growing up. And then she did a week summer camp, is what she called it, in when I was in college. Excuse me, no, when I was in middle school. I went to her house for a week, and every morning we would wake up and paint together. Now, that was my very first self portrait. I worked in oils because she's a big oil painter, and that is what it was. That really, I think that week is what really sparked my love for it.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's funny because I have 3 other sisters, and only one of them would call herself artistic. The other two are creative. Actually, one of them draws all the time. And I have a little sister with Down syndrome. So she's an artist. She's constantly drawing. And then my younger sister. But anyway, I think it was really, for whatever reason, it just stuck for me. It just really, really resonated for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think what a idyllic childhood. I wish I could. Even now, I'm like, can I go to your grandmother's house and paint every
I
morning? I
know.
mean, that's
She's just, oh, she's such a treasure. And she just loves it. She just loves
Mhm.
it. Deeply, deeply loves it.
Well, and I think that's what's so important to grow up seeing that versus,
Mhm.
I think it's really easy to come into the art world now, like when you re entered it
Mhm.
and see I don't know, get in the mindset of like, I need to paint to sell, which I want to talk
Right.
about because obviously you're taking this
Mhm.
seriously as a business. You have that perspective of you grew up with, your grandmother who just loved it and kind of sparked this
Mhm.
just love of creation.
Right.
But you also have experience as an interior designer. So you do know kind
Mhm.
of what are designers looking for? How did that influence
Right.
the work you're creating now? And how do you balance creating for you and creating potentially for profit?
That's a really great question. Yeah, I would say just backing up quickly is actually growing up drawing and painting. I never thought it could be a profession, which is
Mhm.
actually interesting. I think because it was just such a almost casual day-to-day thing that I was doing, I think that's probably why I pushed towards interior design because I needed that creative outlet and I didn't think I could be an artist,
Mhm.
which is really interesting. And it wasn't until recently where I really was like, okay, let me just do it. But I went into the interior design field. They intersect so beautifully, of
Yeah.
course. And you're playing with fabrics with gorgeous patterns, colors, textures, all of the things that you find in artwork. And so I really learned, first of all, I learned to expand my appreciation for art because um, you look at it's so subjective and you look at it a certain way. And the more I saw was in clients' homes, a lot of them incredible art with incredible art collections, it really kind of nurtured, I would say, my mind and my eye for the fact that painting can look a bunch of different ways.
Mhm.
And I think from an interior design perspective, the way I would approach it is a palette. Palette was very important. What are the colors? And that's going to be, it would either inform the room or you would pick the painting based on the colors in the room.
Right.
And then just, is it personal? How personal is that piece? And so I think that was really impactful for me because you realize that the store bought art, that's not the stuff that's going to go from move to move to move. It's going to be the painting that they bought maybe in a flea market, or just like something little like that, or from a really well-known gallery or something like that, or passed down through families. So with that in mind, it definitely informs how I paint, probably more than I realize. But I certainly paint with, okay, would I put this in one of my rooms? Like, would I design with this? So it's always a filter that informs every way that I paint.
Right. And I think that makes sense. And that's actually, it's funny. That's advice I give to a lot of artists is if you don't know what to paint, ask
Mhm.
yourself if this is something you would put in your own home. And I think for you, you can take
Mhm.
it a step further because you have that design eye.
Right.
It's like, would I put this in one of the homes that I've
Right. My
designed?
client's home. Mhm.
Exactly. But I do think that not a lot of people think of it through that lens and they're trying so hard to focus on, does this fit this mold of what I think is going to sell? And I
Right.
love what you shared about clients have collections. They have work that speaks to them. And yes,
Mhm.
a certain work can inform, like either inform the space or a space can inform
Right.
colors in a work, but it is a collection. And it's not like people are always looking for a prescribed piece. And if they are, they might
Totally
just
not.
shop at like Home Goods or something like that.
Exactly.
And so
And
that's
that
where
could not be
artists,
more true.
exactly, like
Yes,
you
like what I've
have,
seen of collections they are so different. Like,
mhm,
I'm kind of known for these hydrangeas that I've started. Okay,
mhm,
sure. So I'm doing these hydrangeas, but also on the next wall could be this very contemporary line drawing with a pencil. I mean, they can be totally different. And so I think what I've learned the most is just stay true to what I love and yes, what I would decorate with, of course, but just what I love. Because if it's coming from my soul, hopefully it will speak to someone else's. And sure, they might not buy 80 of my hydrangeas. That would be great. It'd be great if that's what they collected. But but even if there's just one that's speaking to them that coordinates with their color palette in their home, etc. That needs to be the goal, I think.
yeah, I think that's a great perspective. Well, I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into your style and the work you're creating.
Mhm.
You are, I
Yeah.
feel like, known for your hydrangeas. I mean, I'm looking at paintings behind you, so I know you're dabbling in some other stuff too.
This is a new adventure. I just needed
Yes.
a little hydrangea. I needed to step out, but yes, the hydrangeas are really, they
How
took
did
off, which
you
is great.
how did you come to discover the hydrangeas? Where did that idea come from? I mean, they're stunning.
Thank you. I think. I was digging deep when the other day when I was really trying to think about, okay, why hydrangeas? Like, why do these speak to me? And I know why. I grew up, my mom has a green thumb and loves to be out in the garden, just loves it. And I grew up with her pruning and taking care of her hydrangeas. And if you walk in the backyard, the hydrangea bushes
Uh-huh.
are as big as our house. I mean, they are huge. And so, and all colors. And I mean, just it's silly little things of her explaining the pH in hydrangeas and how that
Right.
can affect the color of the hydrangeas. Just this love for them, and truly in all seasons. Um, I have some right now, and they're drying out, and they're kind of red and this dark green, and then they can be this beautiful blue, and so I really think that deep in my heart that's where it came from, and then they just kind of poured out
Yeah.
and feeling, yes, a little limited by color palette because hydrangeas are a certain way, but also realizing that it's a little bit unlimited and I can just go for it.
I love that. And it kind of reminds me of when I was in art school. I feel like our teachers would often make us work under constraints. And I really love that you've leaned into kind of the hydrangea constraint. Not that it's a constraint
Yeah.
because you can always paint other things, but I feel like
Right.
you're niching down and you're doing it so well. But also, how
Right.
great that I feel like if I need a hydrangea, you're the person that comes to mind because it's so
That's
prevalent.
the sweetest thing you could say. Thank you.
Well, and I
That's
think you're
great. And
doing
I
it.
think that that is the point. So,
Mhm,
backing up a little bit. So, in April, I decided, okay, I'm going to launch this thing. Well,
mhm,
I actually started as a landscape artist, is what I would call myself. I just love landscapes. I mean, and true, pretty realistic, semi-realistic, some a little more fluid, but really landscapes. And then I did these what I would call abstract landscapes with gold leaf. And then I also got on this wild hydrangea kick. And so in April, I was really like, okay, I do want to be known for something. I want somebody to go, oh, I need this. I'm going to call Julia. And I purposely did this huge launch. I called it the Living Water Collection. And I launched hydrangeas, I launched landscapes, and I launched these abstract landscapes, is what I'm calling them.
mhm.
And the point in doing that is, okay, I'm going to do the big launch and I'm going to see what sells. And then I'm going to run with it. And so that's why I did it that way. And hydrangeas sold out within 24 hours, just done.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, there's my answer. And that was it. And which was wonderful for me because again, I've been doing landscapes for a while. The abstract landscapes were something that were known to me. And then these hydrangeas that just really came from my heart appeared, which perhaps is why they sold out. It's like people could just kind of get the feel of those. Um, and how special they are. And so that is how I really zeroed in and narrowed it down. And that's why I ended up the hydrangea lady.
I mean, I love it. And I love obviously, I love the meaning behind the work. You love creating it. It relates back to your
Mhm.
mom. Like, I think all of that depth is so important. But I also love how you
Mhm.
really strategically just did a trial run and you're like, what's
I
going to
did.
sell?
I was like, this is a business decision. And that's where interior design actually really has benefited me. So I did interior design for 10 years. Half of that was under as a design assistant, which
Mhm.
was so amazing and valuable. And then the other half was me having my own business. And so I'm so grateful for that experience because I was able to approach painting as a business and really, I knew that I wanted to make it successful. I have two little boys, and so painting is fun and so deeply joyful for me, but I also want to feel like, okay, if I'm going to be spending time um not sleeping and napping when they're napping and totally exhausted, then it really needs to be worth it for me. And it was from the heart, but it was also totally a business decision.
Yeah, and that's what I really love to highlight. I mean, I feel like everywhere, but especially on this podcast is because I'm not the
Right.
type person that's, you only are doing it to sell, but I'm also not one of these podcasts that's like art is just all like fun and creative. It's
Right.
like, no, you need
Right.
both. And so I love that
Right.
you can find a way to really express yourself, do it in a way that's
Mhm.
true to you, but you're also being
Mhm.
strategic. And that's
Right.
I think that's the hardest thing to accomplish, but that's why we're here. I mean, that's why I have this podcast is to find that
Right.
balance for people. So I think you're doing it well.
Totally.
What I'd love to ask is to take it a step further. That's kind of one
Mhm.
marketing test you did.
Mhm.
What are other things that have worked for you or not worked for you when it
Mhm.
comes to growing your business and marketing it?
Yeah. Well, definitely Instagram has been huge, which that's the new thing. I think it's such a great question. I feel like probably the biggest thing is choosing joy in it, which I know sounds kind of surface maybe.
I
But
love
in
it.
Instagram, you can look at it as, okay, this is so hard and so frustrating and ugh, what a drag. Or you can look at it as, okay, this is my opportunity to share with people why I love doing what I do, the heart and soul behind it, and my day to day. And so I shifted. I'm, before the art official decision, April 24th. It's so funny that it sticks in my head, but you can actually go back to my Instagram and go back to April 24th. You can see the day I posted, okay, I'm doing this basically. And then I posted every day after that. Just boom, 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 boom,
I
boom.
love it.
The last 2 weeks have been a little off, which is funny timing, but just because of life and the boys and sickness, etc. But I really made that decision, and it it was impactful and it was great, and it became something that I started to enjoy and really be able to use it as a format to share with people. So I think that's something that's been huge as far as growing my business. I mean, just huge. In fact, I mean, maybe 90% of my art sales have been somebody who's found me on Instagram and then either continued to follow me that way, reached out specifically for a commission, or just enjoys following along and would never buy one of my paintings, which I'm okay with that too. I think that that's just as important. So that's definitely been an important format for me, and definitely a business decision. I mean, it really is. You do just have to decide. That's been a really big one.
Yeah. Well, can we take it a step further and talk about what your strategy with Instagram is? I mean, you said you're posting obviously the work and you started committing to posting relatively every day, but you're also taking
Mhm.
really beautiful photographs. You're sharing, bits and
Yeah.
pieces of your life. Kind of, I don't even know if strategy is the right word, but how are you just thinking about Instagram and
Right.
treating it, as a marketing platform, but also a place to
Mhm.
kind of express yourself too?
Yeah, so it definitely is. Instagram's funny because you do want to be personal, to a degree. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of depth to everybody, but generally speaking, I think I started viewing it as something that wasn't, um, but that was just a little less intimidating and that could be mine. And so I definitely put pictures. I cannot emphasize that enough. I ended up finding a photographer here in Charlotte. He's so wonderful. Devante, give him a shout out. He's so awesome.
Mhm.
And he just kind of showed up and rolled with it, with my first photo shoot. And we've done 3 or 4 since. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I think that is what gave me the confidence to keep posting, right? If you feel like, okay, I've got a good picture, I've got something to show, then all you have to do is think about, okay, what can I say behind this? What's the heart behind this? And then you can post it. And so I think that has been incredibly important. So I would really encourage any artist
Mhm.
or anybody, any business professional who feels like they don't know where to start with Instagram, to probably start with just
Yeah.
pictures that they feel good about. Because it is hard. I mean, there's a fair share of me doing my own photos or my own videos, the canvas flip, all that.
Right.
But right, we all do the canvas flip, but and that's all with my phone. But to have pictures that I felt good about is really that was what started it all, honestly. And then from there, I just was like, okay, what picture do I like today? And that's how I started. And then I started, doing the reels, which is your B-roll, it's your camera roll. It is different. It is more casual, but at least the cover photo is the picture that you like from the photographer.
Right.
So that was huge for me. That was a really, really big thing that I think really kind of launched me on Instagram and my mindset on Instagram for
Yeah,
sure.
I really wanna reiterate that because I had a photo shoot, like, a long time ago just to, get the
Mhm.
baseline photos for my
Right.
website, and I actually have really been implementing photo shoots more this year, and I was talking to artists
Mhm.
about it, and I'm like, "It's such a great" you don't have to do them all the time, you can really get a few
No.
great photos
Yeah.
and run with
Yep.
it, but it's such a great
Mhm.
way to, 1, legitimize your business and feel professional, like, outwardly. People are gonna see
Totally.
that and be like,
Yeah.
"She's taking this seriously," but also inwardly, like,
Yeah.
I think it gave me a confidence of, I'm not scared to
Totally.
post because I think these actually
Mhm.
look really good,
Mhm.
and there's only
Yep.
so much I can do myself. I mean, to be quite honest,
Right.
that's not my skill set. And I just felt like, okay, if I'm gonna, charge for this or, really market this, I don't feel bad about it
Mhm.
because I feel like I have the photos that internally make me feel
Back it up.
worthy to be doing it. And so it's kind of a psychological
Completely.
thing too.
Completely. I mean, I think it's all psychological because then you got the photos and you go, okay, now I want to build a website. So
Yeah.
one leads to another, and so yes, it's completely about the outward look, knowing that people are going to look at you from a professional lens, but really it's starting with you going, I'm a professional. Like, look at me, I have a website, I've got these photos, I've got an Instagram account that's active. And I think it completely starts with you. I think it's that way with painting too. I think it starts with you loving what you're painting.
Mhm.
Not, oh, I've got to paint this thing because, people probably like it. It's going, okay, what do I want to paint? What do I love? Okay, what photos do I want to have of myself, and how do I want to put myself out there? And I feel like if you're intimidated to start an art business, I think say, okay, I'm gonna put that on the back burner for, let's say, 4 weeks, and up until then, I'm gonna create a baseline for myself that gives me confidence to put myself out there. And I think that that's definitely, I mean, really, that's definitely what I did, because in April, when I decided, okay, I'm going to start it, I had done the photo shoot. So I knew that I had the pictures to back it up for the next however long.
Yeah.
And it gave me the confidence to just press on and move forward. So it was really what I was doing behind the scenes, was setting up a groundwork for myself to be successful as an artist, to have the website ready, um, to have the Instagram prompts ready, and all of that. I think it made the biggest difference. I can totally shift your mindset into feeling confident as an artist or not.
Yeah, and I kind of want to lift the curtain a little bit. I was trying to think back to when I found you, and it's funny that you said you started taking this really seriously in April. I probably
Mhm.
started following you May or
In
maybe
April.
early this summer.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
definitely.
probably around then, and it's funny
Well, so let me
because
say this. I know it was because when I decided in April, I only had 1,600 followers, and now I have
mhm,
over 12,000. So,
crazy.
yeah, crazy. I mean, crazy, crazy. And it happens so fast. And yes, I really do believe I believe that it's because I was doing what I love. I believe that it was because of a lot of prayer and a big decision, but I really do believe that it was because I posted probably every day, and I decided to just run with it and own it and claim it and just do it. And I mean, I don't even know, that's not double, triple, quadruple. I mean, it went from 1,600 to 12,000. So how do you explain that, except that Instagram, I mean, the algorithm can be in your favor if you it, the key is just to feel confident in posting those videos. I mean, it really, really is, and just feel good about what you're painting and who you are as an artist.
Yes, and I think you showed up with such a level of confidence that when I found you, assumed you'd been doing this for so long. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
being on this podcast, you have so much wisdom to share, but like in the long scheme of things, yes, you've been an artist, your whole life, but in terms of taking
Right.
this seriously as a business,
Mm-hmm.
end of April, that's just not that long ago. And so I think that's
No,
huge.
I am a newbie. I am a newbie
But I think this
completely.
is
And
such a
it is
great
funny, if you go
perspective.
back on my Instagram, it takes one big swipe to get back to interior design stuff and realize, oh, wait, what? It's very confusing.
Yeah.
So I'm totally new at this.
Well, I love that, and I actually encourage artists to do that a lot. I'm like, we have so much comparison. I'm like, sometimes it's really nice to just scroll backwards through artists you admire's feeds, and some people it might take a little longer than yours, but it's go back
Completely.
to the days where they were saying yes to every commission, or they were doing something completely different, or it was their personal feed. Because I'm like, I think we all
Yeah.
think this happened overnight for a lot of people, and it doesn't. But I think what you did is you almost tricked the system. I don't want to say that, but like good photography makes people think
It
you have been
does.
doing it longer than
Yes,
you
yes,
have,
yes.
and that's like a hack for everyone.
Completely. Completely. And I learned that with interior design. So again, I mean,
Yes.
I credit my background in interior design so much for everything I did. And yes, that wonderful time with the designer under her, but mostly going out on my own because I would do photo shoots for my projects. And I
Right.
really understood the importance of that, because in interior design, especially, it is how you put yourself across completely. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
just I mean, that's everything, because it's all look. And really, it is the same with art. And I think people don't realize that it's completely the same. I mean, there are so many overlaps there. But I understood and I learned the importance of photo shoots. And once I became an artist, that was the first thing I did. And again, you can see this silence on my Instagram while I was getting those photo shoots done, building the website, and getting my confidence as an artist. And then
Yeah.
boom, and then here I am, and I appear, and that's really how it was. I mean, it really was how it was, but it was because of my business background, starting a business by on my own, getting clients on my own, and then photographing those projects on my own. Just really being like, I can do this. And it completely informed this new art venture that has been just amazing. It's been amazing, so
Yeah,
amazing. I love it so much.
I love that. And I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper on your knowledge, specifically previously being an interior designer. How do you think about working with designers now? Is that a kind of line you're trying to go down? Are you trying to sell to designers? Are you open to selling to anyone? Like, is that something you're even thinking about? Just what is your
Yeah,
perspective on that?
I would love to sell to designers. I have not yet. That's my next maybe goal. I have a
Mm,
whole list of goals, and that's another thing. I am constantly writing down goals for myself, big or small. Some are huge. I mean, I will never show anybody until I do it. Go see,
huh.
so I learned that in my business. I was constantly writing goals for myself in the interior design business, and I'm doing the same thing with my art business. And I think it's really important to be driven by those goals. So one goal is to really get in with maybe one designer, several designers. No, it doesn't intimidate me at all. I think it would be a blast. Now, I know, having been a designer myself, we have opinions and we really know what we want. So
Right.
yes, I think it would be more challenging in a way. Um, because not only would you be working with the client, who obviously it's their piece and they're commissioning it, but the designer is really going to have thoughts and ideas on, maybe even, I mean, as far as even down to texture,
Right.
certainly colors, etc. So yes, it would be an incredible industry to tap into and get in with a designer. It would also be very challenging, but I'm all for it. I think it would be so fun. So and just the idea of playing with color, because again, just like art is subjective, design subjective as well. So there are
Yeah.
designers that are so into color, there are designers that are way into neutral. There's just totally a spectrum. So I think it would be fun to be involved in both of those, because I've seen them both, I've done them both. I think it would be great. Contemporary, I've done traditional, I've transitional. I just really um, unlike my art niche of hydrangeas in interior design, really, because 5 years in interior design is not really a long time. I was in a way starting off in several, it kind of, anyway, in a big way.
Hmm.
And so I really found myself doing a bunch of different kinds of projects.
Right.
So I've seen them all and I love it. I would love to pay for any of them. I think it would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think you definitely obviously have the expertise, but I love that you shared that it would be a challenge because I think a lot of people are like, oh, the dream, work with designers. But I mean, you really have
Yeah.
to realize this is like a commission on steroids because
Oh, yes.
they know exactly what they want and
Mhm.
exactly what they don't want. So you're
Yeah,
not
and I'm
only,
guilty. I am so guilty. I've done it. I've not with an artist, but man, I mean, when contractors would see me coming their way, I'm sure they were like, "Ah, here
but
she
that's good.
comes,"
That's why people hire you.
Right. So I've done it, and I would chuckle at it, and I think in a way that would be a healthy perspective probably to bring to it, because I know it so well, and I completely, I'm like, just whatever you say, because I get it, and you really, as a designer, you have such a picture of what you want this to achieve, and you understand the subtlety of things, and the details. It's all about the details. So yeah, so the painting would really matter. So
Yeah.
I do think, I think it would be challenging. Certainly, it would definitely be, yeah, a commission on steroids. Exactly how you said it. That is exactly what it would be.
Yeah. But exciting. And I think something you can
Mhm.
definitely achieve and you can have a perspective to work with them
Mhm.
that maybe some other people
Right.
don't have, which will work in your favor.
Totally. Yeah.
One thing I'd love to ask is what have been some challenges you faced up to this point, and it either can be in that time when you were deciding to jump all the way into this, all the way up to now.
Mhm.
What are different things you've
Mhm.
had to kind of work through to get where you are?
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest challenge that came to mind is just balancing life and being a mom with painting. That's been a huge one. For any mom who is playing with the idea and, wants to, but doesn't think she can, I'm here to tell you that unfortunately you can. Maybe not. I mean, I only have two boys. I only have two kids. So, I mean, the mom's of five and et cetera. I couldn't imagine. But I'm doing it because it was necessity for me. I think I really I needed to get that creative energy out. But yes, it has been a huge, huge, huge challenge. Lots of just tired, mornings and all of that. I think that would probably that's the biggest challenge that comes to mind. But the way I've done it is I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and just do my quiet time. My time with the Lord is so important to me. That is the baseline for getting me through the day. Um, that's how I start my day, and then I do all house chores in the morning, um, just like folding laundry, empty the dishwasher, etc. And then the boys get up at 7, and I'm a mama until nap. And then during their nap, I paint. And then when they go to bed at night, I paint and or do the business side of things. Or when they nap, sometimes I'll do the reel. The reels are funny because on Instagram, because it looks like you're active every day, but you're not always. Some days you can't. And so all of that is very strategic. And so sometimes I'll line them up, sometimes I do them day of, all of that. But that has been the biggest challenge, is just balancing. And yes, as a mom, but probably for any artist, everybody has a life. They've got tons of things that they're doing, tons of directions. I mean, you, for example, you've got your hand in 1,000 different amazing professional things. I'm just mind blown. And so it's just time, right? We all just feel like, how am I going to have the time, to build the website and to ship. Oh my goodness, shipping. Oh, that is a huge, right. And how am I going to be able to do all of these things? And so, I mean, fundamentally, that's been the biggest challenge, is time. And then, of course, Instagram. I mean, that is a hard one. Again, time, it's such a time sucker.
Yeah.
It's all about time. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's just all about time. And then sourcing, figuring out shipping, figuring out, canvases, like where to get canvas, paint. Do I want to do certain things online? What kind of artist do I want to be? Like, I don't know. What kind of varnish do I want to use? Do I want to do gloss? Do I want to be fancy, or do I want it to be matte? I mean, it's just all these
Right.
little decisions. I think framing is a huge one that, I mean, you could do probably 45 podcasts on, because that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I really think it's all of those challenges. They were all, again, ones that I expected because of my interior design background.
Right.
Starting my business with interior design, I had to really look for the right vendors. I mean, that can make or break you. Curtain installers, curtain makers, pillow makers, all of that. And so I knew going into this that I needed all of those pieces had to be figured out and established. But I also knew that it takes time. Like, you're not going to just overnight figure out how to ship something from, what I'm doing today, which is North Carolina to Florida. You're
Yeah.
like, you're not going to just know. So it's being patient, I think, with the process, patient with yourself, and understanding that you have to pursue it and work really hard to find it, but you will find it if you're pursuing it. So I think that's probably been another one of the top challenges. And again, it all comes down to time. It's just all
Yeah.
time.
Well, and it's so funny because I feel like time is the biggest constraint we all have. I mean, obviously, 2 children, that's going to be a lot. And I talk to, obviously, a
Right.
lot of the women on this podcast are in a similar
Right.
boat. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
time is the biggest constraint, but also just the mental fatigue, like decision fatigue of
Yes.
when you're running your own business, you only have so much time. And then during that
Mm-hmm.
time, you're expected to make all these little decisions, and you list them. It's like, how do I ship? Do I frame? Do
Right.
I not frame? Do I price this? Do I not price that, like this
Right.
high, this low? Like,
Right.
you are
Mm-hmm.
inundating yourself with decisions all day long. So I just want to reiterate that I love that you start your day for yourself, because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's such a great grounding. And like, you even get like the chores out of the way. It's like you can just ground yourself, clean slate, one less thing
Yes,
you have to
that's my
decide or think about.
personality. Yes, it's like it has to be done. I totally, yeah, you're sweet to acknowledge that, and it's so true. I mean, I have to know that I can be like true to myself that day. It's like, get your roots a little bit,
Yeah.
and you have my coffee in peace. That is huge for me. That is huge for me. I love my first cup of coffee is so sacred,
Mhm.
and just, yeah, get the chores out of the way so that I can be my biggest goal in life is to be a present mom. I mean, a
Mhm.
present wife, but certainly a present mom. And so I think my biggest fear going into being an artist. So with design, with my second child, I really started to phase out of it. And I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm not
Mhm.
going to pick up anything. And then I just kept getting this prompting. For me, if it was a spiritual prompting, I just was like, oh, I've got to do this. Like, I just got to start painting again. And I think my biggest fear going into it was that I wouldn't be able to be present in both things. Like, I wouldn't be able to be present in painting and really deeply enjoy it because I'd always feel maybe guilty or like I needed to be with the boys. And I wouldn't be able to be a present mom because I'd constantly be feeling this pull of painting. Now, I do, like the truth is, sometimes in one, I am feeling the other, but I make a mental choice to almost reject that thought and just know, well, when it comes to the thought of the boys, I don't reject it. I embrace it
I know what you mean.
deeply. But when I'm with the boys, I really think, okay, no, I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to set it aside. And then when I'm painting, I know the boys are happy and taken care of in whatever capacity, snoozing, having the time of their life, napping. I'm really, I'll turn on worship music. I really create an experience for myself where I can be really present and really enjoy painting. And I think that is probably what feeds the love for it is and it's so important to just try not to get bogged down in all of those big details and the time constraints and just take what time you have and just
Hmm.
and there were moments where I was feeling so bogged down by all of it and I would just and truly just like drop it and go, I've got to just paint. I've just got to paint. I'm going to go paint
Yeah,
because sometimes you do have to ground yourself and okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
exactly. And I'm reading Deep Work right now, which is a book all about
Oh,
like when you
yeah, I haven't read it.
it's good. It's kind of a not as fun of a read, like, I'm not flying through
Yeah.
it, but I think the
I'm a
message
non-fun reader. I like
me
all of
too.
Malcolm Gladwell's books. Like I love all the serious life help stuff. I'm like, give
Yeah,
it to me.
me
That's what I lean
too.
in on. So I'm
I
gonna look
highly
up Deep Work.
recommend, it has very, like, scientific perspective, and I think that's why it's a little bit, like, harder for me,
Yeah.
but I think the concept is so there for artists and just in life, like, we need and I wanna relate it to what you were saying, like, we need to go really deep to do our best work, and I think that relates obviously, he has more of, like, a business creative, like, going deep with what you do, but I think when in
Yeah.
life too, and I love that you have these segments where you're like, "I can go really deep and be focused as a mother and kind of
Mhm.
reject the thoughts of artwork during those times, and then
Right.
when they're napping, I
Right.
know they're good, they're happy, I don't have to
Mhm.
be worried about that, I can do my, like,
Right.
deep focused work on the
Yes.
art, and both are
Yes.
functioning, you're highly functioning in both, and I think that's so
Mhm.
important because that's really hard to do. Like, it's really hard to
Right.
not constantly be bouncing back and forth with everything
Mhm.
that we have going on in our
Mhm.
life, and so I think that's
Right.
something you're accomplishing really well, or it
Well,
sounds
it
like you're
sounds like it.
accomplishing
And
really
sometimes I
well.
am and sometimes I'm not, but that is my goal, And I think if that is your goal and you can approach it that way, it certainly helps. And then just the choice of just joy in both, I think
Yeah,
that that's been really huge. Sometimes it is easy to just feel so overwhelmed and like, oh, I wish they'd nap longer. My little Jude right now, he's 1 and he just like, sometimes that nap just, it doesn't hit right, like the teeth are
yeah.
coming in. He's like, you're not painting today. So it's definitely easy to sometimes feel like, oh man, this is hard. But I think just choosing, yeah, it's just choosing to go, okay, I'm not painting today. I'm going to go get him and that kind of thing. And just shifting your mindset. Has been really impactful for me. And I mean, and that goes with Instagram. Like, and I know I mentioned that earlier, but just the whole like choosing joy in Instagram. It sounds silly, but I think it definitely has been just a choice. Like, okay, I'm gonna just do this. Like, I'm gonna just jump in. I'm gonna get these fun pictures taken. I'm gonna enjoy it. I mean,
Right.
and I'm gonna just tell people a little bit more about the heart behind what I do, and hope that they, just stay true to yourself, and hope that they will jump on board. So that's definitely been the way that I've approached just this whole business.
Yeah, I love that. Well, speaking of choosing joy and great accomplishments, what have been some of your successful moments up to this point?
Ooh, definitely Instagram. That's been fun for me. I mean, in 6 months to go from 1,600 to 12,000 is a
Yeah.
really, um, it's very humbling. Like you're just like, wow, these people want to follow along, and some of them are buyers. Some of them are probably maybe I don't know, a good chunk of them are artists. Maybe wanting to learn. Um, and then just people who just enjoy looking at art. But just to realize that people are wanting to follow along has been really, really neat and special. Um, and but greater than that is those art purchases. I mean, every painting purchase is just so cool. You're like, wow, this speaks enough to them for
Yeah.
them to have it on the wall of their home. And that they'll maybe talk about it and they'll admire it and they'll enjoy it and appreciate it. And for them to maybe find you on Instagram, then get on your website and then hit, add to cart, buy, that is them really seeing through their love for your work. And that has been my greatest accomplishment. I mean, 100%. That's why I do what I do. And the titles of my paintings are all titled from my morning quiet times that I have really tried to do. And so even that, just knowing that kind of, the decision to title your painting in a certain way, that's going in their home because every single painting that you do as an artist is so personal to you.
Right.
And then to see that those decisions and nuances in the work that you created is loved enough by a buyer or collector for them to then have it in their home is the coolest feeling. I mean, it's the coolest feeling. It really is. It's really special.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I love that you're seeing just the success in getting to do this. I mean, I really think that's something I'd reiterate that so many artists have said.
Yeah.
With all of that in mind, what do you see next? What's on the horizon for you, for your business? Anything you're working towards right now? I know you're a big goal
Yeah.
setter, so
Yeah, I am a big goal setter. I have little things probably just in the immediate future. Is Well, I mean, just a lot more painting sales. I've got a really fun show coming up in a couple weeks. I would love to, I mean, every time I'm like, I want to sell out, like why not say it? Why not think it? Why not
yeah,
feel it? So I'd love to sell out. I'll probably have 20 to 30 pieces there. So that would be amazing. Um, I'm loving the Instagram growth and the fact that I'm just, I guess, casting a greater web. I think that would be really special to just keep growing. And then for me, I'm actually really interested in prints. So I've been doing a lot of proofs of prints, getting prints done of some pieces because I do love the idea of you, of people being able to get a piece that they love that they can't afford, and I understand that a lot of people can't. So that's also a niche that I want to figure out to a degree. Certain
yeah,
pieces that I really feel like people would love to have. I would love to get prints made. Also because I've got these little boys. My husband is one of 9, if you can believe it. So we're like totally in babyland. It would be fun for me to know that okay, if I can't create at this given time, I'm still able to, yes, make a profit because I'm business minded. I can't help it.
yeah,
And then also just get some of my pieces out there. So I am looking at it from that way as well.
yeah.
So those are kind of my bigger things. And then I have the big goals that I'll keep quiet until they happen.
Yeah, I love it. Well, this has been so amazing. I love to conclude every episode with just like a little tidbit, lesson, something you've
Yeah.
learned, something that's helped you, a hack, anything that's really
Yeah.
benefited you up to this point in your career.
Ooh, a hack. Let's see. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but I would say
Mhm.
probably the biggest takeaway is photographs. I would
Yeah.
just say photographs. That's your hack. I mean, that can be the heart behind everything that you do because you feel confident. You've got everything that you need to back it up with those pictures. I mean, I would say that's the biggest takeaway. That was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
And just I think narrowing down maybe who you are as an artist, who you are even as a person, what do you want to put across to people? Really, really narrowing down on that and picking your niche. I know everybody always says that, and it sounds like such a, almost a cliche at this point, but really picking your niche, painting totally true to yourself and true to what you love, but also really going, okay, how can I narrow it down and really just put across the punchline to people so that they can go, okay, this is who she is. This is what she's painting. I like these things, and I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna purchase because we're in it for completely for our enjoyment, and because we love to paint. But we're in it. I mean, I'm in it as business. That's important to me too.
Yes. Well, those are great takeaways. This has been, I mean, a fantastic episode. I think you've shared so much beneficial
Good.
personal and business tips. Can you share how
Good.
everyone can
I'm
learn
so
more about
glad.
you?
Yeah,
You're
thank you. I'm so glad. I was nervous.
no, you
I
are
thought, what
so
do
great.
I have to give? Um, but yeah, but it's been great. It is like just chatting with a friend. So thank you for this.
I love it. Well, share how everyone can follow you on Instagram. If they don't already, head to your website, buy
Yeah.
from you, learn more about you. Where can they find you?
Yeah, thanks. So my Instagram handle is Julia Hetzel Art. So everybody definitely follow along. I really love to share. all sorts of things on there. Just like the background behind painting, the little snippets of life. So definitely do that. And then my website is juliahetzel.com. And those are probably the best ways to follow me and at least get information for shows that I'm doing, new launches, and all of that. And then I, of course, have an email list, which you can join on my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was so fun. I love talking to
Yeah,
you
good.
and
Thanks.
connecting, and this was great.
Thank you. And then actually one other little shout out is I just started an Amazon storefront. And the
Uh-huh.
reason I did it is because of the interior design background. Friends and family are constantly reaching out to me for
Yeah.
curtains and things that they like. And I do it inexpensively at my own house. I'm just not the same caliber as some of my clients. So that has actually been really fun. And then I do share some of the art stuff as well. So that I
Awesome.
am actually starting to turn people to that a little bit because people reach out about just random things that they see. And definitely friends are constantly like, where'd you get that bed skirt? And I'm always like, oh, Amazon. So,
I love it. I will be checking it
yeah,
out.
yeah, be checking it. I've got all my favorite curtains, curtain hardware, and all of it. It's all on there. Pillows, I'm like totally pillow obsessed, like every woman probably, but I love pillows.
Yeah.
So they're all on there too.
Okay. Well, I will definitely link your website, your Instagram, and your Amazon storefront
You
because I think
can.
people,
My Amazon is it's a starting thing, so maybe do, maybe don't, but it's definitely something that is a great resource for people. It's
well,
just been fun.
I think it's really fun. I'll definitely be checking it out for
Good.
sure. But this is
Good.
great.
And I'll,
I
and I'll be
really
updating it
appreciate
as
your
well.
time today.
Yeah, Haley, thank you. This has been so, so great. And I just have admired you from afar. And now getting to talk to you is it's just awesome.